Um, so welcome back to Tallahassee GreenFaith Alliance, everybody. And today I'm really excited that we have Pam McVety, who's going to share with us the GreenFaith campaign that's called Sacred People, Sacred Earth. Pam is a really dynamic leader, and I'm just so excited that she has gravitated towards this campaign and she wants to share it with us, and she thinks it's something that would be really beneficial for us to get behind. So very excited about her presentation. And also we're going to have Claudia share some of the 11th Commandment book that we have said we wanted to do together as a group. I don't know that, I know I kind of need to get back into reading it, but Claudia, I'm excited about you sharing that as well. So with that, I found this universal prayer for peace, and I wondered if you all just wanted to read along while I read it and just kind of start us off in a place of gratitude and prayer. It's been a really dark time in our country, probably the darkest in my lifetime and maybe yours too. But we do have reason to hope. So please pray with me. We pause in quiet reflection to offer this prayer for a peaceful world. In our individual and personal ways, we call upon the Holy One who sustains our lives and who inspires us to live with compassion and kindness and peace. We ask for daily guidance in all of our personal relationships, in our work and play, and in our community involvement, that we might model the possibilities of peace in everything we say and in everything we do. We pray for wisdom and compassion within the hearts and minds of all world leaders who have the power and the responsibility of making decisions that impact the presence of peace. We pray for courage, dedication, and integrity within the spirits of all those who work for peace around the world. We pray for all those who harbor thoughts and feelings of hatred, violence, and greed, that their hearts and minds and souls will be transformed into your likeness of compassion and kindness. We are thankful for your presence within our lives and ask for your blessing as we try to live peaceful lives and seek ways for all people to live in harmony and peace. Amen. Okay. Now it is time for us to stop share, and Susan can help lead us in our introductions.
Okay, sorry you'll hear my phone ringing, but that's a landline that I don't answer. It'll stop. Okay, good morning. We're just going to say who we are and which house of worship we're with. And if you have anything new that your house of worship is doing, I know a couple of them have great programs, several week programs on Wednesday nights that they're doing right now. So you can mention that now too, that'd be great. I'm Susan Robinson again with Holy Comforter, and we don't have anything new happening right now. I've talked in the past about our gardens and, you know, food for the food pantry and some of those things, but I will pass it on. How about Peter? You're on mute, Peter.
As in me, oh, excuse me. Peter Easton, United Church in Tallahassee, grand to see you all. We're presently involved, as indicated on the chat page, in a virtual class entitled People of Faith and Climate Solutions. And doubtless others of you are doing similar things. I'm aware of the very nice one being done at Trinity UMC, and would love to hear about others who are doing it, because the big challenge here is to get it together and do it together, and particularly when it comes to applications. So best to one and all.
Great, thanks, Peter. And you mentioned on your email that we can look at yours after the fact. They're being recorded. They'll be on your Facebook, is that right?
Yes, I'm supposedly Zoom master, though I think Zoom lackey is probably the better term for me, since I'm pretty new at all this. But one of the things I'll be learning today that did get recorded is how I make that available, and I'll certainly let those who are interested know.
I definitely am interested. Thanks. Okay, Dennis Howard.
Yes, hi, I'm Dennis with St. John's Episcopal Church. Don't really have anything to report other than I've been enjoying different programs that are being provided by folks here, and really appreciate the information.
Okay, great. Now my dog's barking. Doug?
Doug Hahn with the Tallahassee monthly meeting. We're not doing a whole lot. The Earth Care part of our program will be transferred from our Peace and Social Concerns Committee to our Grounds Committee in Maintenance for some reason. But I've asked for someone in the Quaker meeting to represent them here. I will be leaving the Quakers.
You won't be leaving us, I hope.
Of course not.
Good, good, good. Okay, great. Okay, Janice?
Janice Petrowski. I'm with St. Louis Catholic Church, and I'm part of a group called that is forming now that's called Big Bend Catholics for Creation Care. So all the Catholic parishes in the city are joining together, and we're going to be launching a citywide effort for creation care with an action group in each parish. So that's exciting. And I actually attended the Trinity Methodist session last night. It was excellent, and I want to look at the ones from Peter's too also when it gets online.
Great. Thanks, Janice. Claudia.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see, at Temple Israel, we are just chugging along. Still working in our garden. Our compost is almost set up and ready to roll. Our temple leadership is really calling for us to get involved in the also interfaith called something like the Capital Area Justice Ministry, which is focusing on race. So I'm going to be getting involved in that, and I'm going to be looking for ways to really focus on that overlap between environmental justice or environmental issues and race justice, because as Tara has mentioned, just that intersection of working for the environment and working on race equity is so strong. So I'm going to see how I can help to move us in that focus over the next few months. And I'm looking forward to share a little bit about a Jewish perspective on some text shortly.
Wonderful. Thanks. Gail?
Hi, I'm Gail Hankinson. I'm with First Pres Church, and Pam McVety has brought the program that she's going to be talking about today to First Church, and I was one of the members there that encouraged our church to adopt that policy. On the board of Sustainable Tallahassee and the chair of the Community Carbon Fund committee of that organization. I'll be one of the speakers in the United Church Wednesday night discussions with regard to the carbon fund and carbon sequestration issues. And this is my first time attending this group.
Okay, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay, Sam?
I'm Sam Adams with Great Memorial United Methodist Church. And things that are happening in our church is our pastor has done a great job in the audiovisual and does the sermons online. And he's done such a great job that he's been recruited by a non-denominational church, and he's leaving us.
Oh.
So pray for us, and we'll be without a full-time pastor until June or July, probably. We do have a strong lay leadership, and we'll not only will we survive, but we'll thrive. And we actually have been thriving all the way through this pandemic and fulfilling our commitments to the United Methodist Church. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Let's see, Carlos, I think I've met you. Can you introduce yourself, Carlos? I think you're muted. Can you unmute? Yep.
All right, I'm unmuted now. Okay, this is my second time attending the Zoom sessions. I go to, generally I'm been a member of St. Thomas More Catholic Church for over 30 years or so. Since the pandemic began, I stopped going to church for attending masses at the church for excessive caution because I'm over 65 and I'm still waiting for my vaccine. So once that is over and I can resume attending meetings and masses at the church, I will probably get in touch with Janice and see what's going on with the within the Catholic community.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Great. Sarah. Oh, you're muted again. Also.
Sorry about that. I attend Holy Comforter with Susan, and like she said, we've not much to report right now, but it's good to be on this particular group.
Well, all right. Let's see, Mary Ann. Oh, you're muted. Everybody.
Oh, I thought I was unmuted. Sorry. I appreciate everybody's participation and energy last night attending Trinity's climate change care session with Dr. Jeff Chanton, who gave us an scientific overview of our planet Earth, our beautiful planet Earth. We are in the process of in the middle of a let's see, 5-week series of classes, and Kara and Pam are going to be speakers and also and participating as leaders for the next three weeks. The next week is Kara, and then Pam follows her, and greatly appreciate that. And it's just, as Peter said in an email to me, it's exciting to know that so many of our congregations are participating in climate care and climate justice issues right now. It gives us a pause and a time to really focus on planet Earth. So please join in and participate with the climate change group from Trinity next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And I think most of you have the link. We sent it out to all kinds of different groups. So that in itself is a wonderful community advocacy. Yeah, thank you very much.
Can I ask the one up from last night, which sounds absolutely wonderful, is there recording going to be available?
It was recorded. Yes, I think.
And how are you making that available for access?
Yes, of course. Yes.
You'll let us know.
And
right?
I'll find out, Peter, exactly how to access that. It might have been a YouTube recording, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm having the same issue. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I attended too and just found it fascinating. It's great last night.
I couldn't take notes fast enough, could you?
I took pictures with my iPhone. I do that.
Oh, good. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie Gibson. This is my first time here. I go to church with Pam and Gail, and Pam has certainly lit a fire under most of us, and have been very thankful and appreciative of her efforts to push our session to sign on to the GreenFaith Alliance statement. I've worked with Sustainable Tallahassee, been on the Carbon Fund Committee for quite a while, and looking forward to finding things within this group that I can also contribute.
Okay, thanks. Now, what are those behind you? Are they water lilies? What is that?
Yeah, they're water lilies from Cuba.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. They're actually about 4 feet in diameter. They're huge. But
that is gorgeous. Well, thank you. Welcome. Rosa?
Hi, good morning. I'm Rosa Morgan. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Tallahassee. We've been active over the last few months in the Dent Street and Macon Gardens and a couple other community gardens, helping out there. Also, some of our members have participated in the gleaning programs that were organized by the Tallahassee Fruit and Nut Exchange. We've done some extensive work in the last couple of months now that it's cooled off on our own grounds and have made a big push on removing the remaining invasive plants that are on our campus at the church. We also do a lot of work with the Manna on Meridian Food Pantry and have been involved in the food libraries, which I like to call the little pop-up food stands that Ashley Hopkins and the Food Not Bombs folks have organized around town. And also our Green Sanctuary Committee is meeting this month to do goal setting for 2020. So that's what we're up to.
Sounds great. All right, thank you. David. Oh, you're muted. Oh, I'm down.
My name is David Gill. I attend St. Paul's United Methodist Church, and I've been doing some work with Soul Food, which is a bi-monthly distribution of hot breakfast at Lake Ella to our homeless friends, and also volunteering with Man on Meridian. That's coming up again this Saturday. And I support what Kara's doing at our church. Good job, Kara.
Yeah, St. Paul's doing all kind of great stuff. All right. Well, good to see all of you this morning. I'll just pass it on over to Kara.
Thank you. So great to hear from you guys. I didn't actually go, I think, but we have a couple new people. So I'm Kara Fleischer. I am the Creation Care Leader at St. Paul's United Methodist, the church at Lake Ella. And we're going into our 5th year of ministry. I also started this group, gosh, I think it's been about 3 years ago now. So it's just so exciting for me to see all the different things going on at all the different house of worship. It just makes me so incredibly happy that we can have this time to share what we're doing, inspire each other, learn about things that are going on. For St. Paul's, we've really been focusing on gardening. That's one thing we can do outside, social distance, masked, that our members feel safe doing. And we're growing a lot of collard greens right now for Man on Meridian Food Bank, which is the food bank our church supports. And we're also helping in the Dent Street Garden, the I Grow Garden on Mondays through this group. And we also helped with the Seminole Garden with a big work day that this group went out for. And I was going to show the video today, but we have a very packed meeting, but it's on Facebook. It was a really great day. We took a garden that was basically just abandoned and overgrown, and in a few hours transformed it into a working garden again. So I just couldn't be prouder of this group. So thank you all, and wonderful to see the new folks here. Debbie and Gail, we're so glad you're here. And if you have any questions or any chance, maybe we can catch up away from this meeting and just learn more about what you've been doing and what your interests are. I would really love that. So let's just keep on moving here. Let's go to the PowerPoint. Okay, great. So now I would like to welcome Claudia to talk to us about the 11th Commandment. It is a book that we all were, we've been looking at for the last couple of meetings. It's on Kindle. It's a wonderful interfaith book about creation. We encourage everyone to get it, and we're just kind of working through it every meeting just to have a little bit of a focus of something, you know, that's faith related. So Claudia, I'll turn it over to you.
So thank you, Tara. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there's a lot going on, and many of us may or may not have had time to read this 5th chapter, which is from a Jewish perspective. The book is from the Abrahamic traditions, a broad variety of Christian denominations, some very Jewish perspectives and some very Muslim perspectives. If we want to keep going with the book, or even just with the structure, next month, my plan is we would have a Muslim speaker presenting on one of the chapters, and I can get with Tara. It seems like that would be something that would serve our group, as we're often not hearing Muslim perspectives on the environment. So that might be something that we would want to do.
Claudia,
Yes.
there is a lot of echo in your audio.
That is a drag, and I am sorry about that. Let me see if I can correct it. Hold on.
If everyone mutes, we might all.
Can you hear me now? Can I have a thumbs up if you can hear me?
We can hear you. It's just a little staticky, I think.
I was muted, but it's kind of fuzzy for me.
Okay, then let me do it.
Carlos, you're not muted. Now you are.
Okay, and one more time, let me count to 5, and is my echo tolerable? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's difficult, but okay.
We can understand you. We can hear you.
This is just that much more of an incentive to read the book.
Okay, I made one more adjustment. Let me know again, is this easier or still pretty challenging? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Buddy.
I think it's fine.
What I'd love is that we could be together in person and not even have buzz. So thank you for bearing with my technological setup here. I'm sort of the lowest tier in the family. My husband's got the best audio, being teaching at the medical school right now. Then there's my kid doing chess, and then there's me. So I am the Jewish voice in our group this morning, and I want to share that it's an exciting time to be a Jew, and it's a scary time also. It's a much greater time of feeling targeted and feeling unsafe and feeling called to amp up the vigor of my faith and my identity as our country is in this challenging moment. Many of us here may never have seen Shabbat candles lit, and I'm asking about Shabbat because I want to talk briefly in this 15-minute window to pull out the concept of Shabbat from the chapter that was this month's chapter. The chapter is called "And the Earth is filled with the breath of life," from a really powerful rabbi, PhD, who's written a lot and done a lot of environmental activism, and he's centering his work on environmental action and linking it with this Jewish concept and practice of Shabbat. Shabbat we normally think of as a rest or a break, and we don't normally think about Shabbat or the Sabbath in its relationship to environmental action. So that's the concept that I want to talk about. And I want to ask first, can people raise their hands if they have seen a Jew either at home or in their own family or in a synagogue light candles and say Hebrew prayer? Who has seen that before? So some of us, which is really, really awesome. I would like to try and do that for a moment with us, because I feel like part of who we are here is not just environmental activists, but a group of interfaith environmental activists. And in this challenging moment, now more than ever, sharing minority voices in our common ground of caring for the earth. is an important act. So what I got here, let's see if we can see this. Can you see my candles here? And again, is my voice coming through okay? I do apologize for the challenge. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to light these candles and I'm going to say a Hebrew blessing over them. And Rabbi Waskow, in this 5th chapter of the 11th commandment, talks about the importance of Shabbat, the importance of Sabbath, the importance of taking a break to reconnect with one's values and to reconnect with one's sense of self and one's quiet, unbusied relationship with God as a crucial part for decisive action on climate change. The rabbi argues that too much busyness, too much worry, too much stress, too much action without its counterbalance of taking time for the Sabbath, taking time for Shabbat, will lead to less effective action and will lead to burnout and will lead to feeling scattered and lost and overwhelmed in the face of climate crisis. So I'm going to light these candles and say this blessing in Hebrew and hope that that can help us all in our meeting. Take that quiet pause, take that Shabbat for ourselves, and then rise up out of that Shabbat or Sabbath into a more renewed, invigorated, and replenished mode of being. And from that renewed and replenished mode of being, this rabbi in the 11th commandment argues, when we're more renewed and replenished, then we have clarity and effectiveness of action. So this is a very, very ancient prayer, and it says, blessed are you, Adonai our God. We are commanded to kindle the light of the Sabbath, to separate the Sabbath from the work week. And that's what the prayer is. Many Jews don't even know exactly what it means. It's the ritual that shifts our headspace. And with that shift of headspace, in theory, we then rise up with more clarity and more vigor in our actions. Let's see here.
While you're getting set up, I just wanted to welcome the 3 new folks that just came on the call and let you know that Claudia is sharing with us, and maybe just do a little recap of what you're doing, Claudia, please.
Sure, I'm going to be lighting Shabbat candles. It is not Shabbat. Shabbat begins Friday night, but it is absolutely allowable to do this in a teaching or a pedagogical or a sharing context. And I'm doing this because I've been engaged in a book called The 11th Commandment, which is an interfaith perspective from the 3 Abrahamic traditions, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim. And the chapter that I'm basing this on focuses on Shabbat, or the Sabbath, as a core importance for then having effective environmental action. So, and some of us in our group today have never seen Jewish candles lit or have heard this Jewish prayer, and I wanna share that, so at least once in our lives we can be familiar with each other's traditions, especially if we're grounded in a minority faith. So here's how we go. Text. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik mem shel Shabbat. And then if people want to go through the motions to join me with this, traditionally, we take our hands and 3 times bring the light into our eyes as if bringing in the light of Shabbat into our spirit, and then our eyes are closed. And then when we reopen the eyes, the idea is that we are more centered, our better, highest selves. We are less busy, we are less worried, and we're ready to be present. So, and then we would say Shabbat Shalom. So, with the remaining time here, I'm going to just elaborate a touch more on Shabbat and this rabbi, whose name is Rabbi Waskow, his correlation between Shabbat and environmental action. And then if we have a few moments, if people could share their own traditions or their own thoughts, or even in their own lives, what are our thoughts, or how are we doing in that balance of sacred rest and taking breaks and even joyful rest in the counterbalance of such an important call to environmental action. So Shabbat, very briefly, in the Jewish tradition, is a commandment. It is actually one of the top commandments even before stealing from your neighbor and murder and all of these things. In terms of commandments, we are commanded to kindle the lights, and we are commanded to make dedicated, sacred time to stop the busyness of the week and pray. One can also be joyful on Shabbat and have fun, to be simpler, to be less externally busy. And the idea is then we are our best selves, we are closer to divinity, and we are restored in our true nature. For that 24-hour period, then, as being less busy and calmer, it allows us, this rabbi argues in terms of environmental action, for us to more deeply focus on what do we really want to be doing, how are our actions being effective or not, what steps do we want to take, how do we want to adjust what we're doing so that we can respond in whatever individually is the most powerful and effective way that we can be responding to climate. Judaism is a lunar religion. Every day begins at sundown. It's so different. I grew up in a faith. I didn't grow up practicing Judaism just as much as I do now. So it was a real head spin for me to think of my days as beginning at night. And what that means is we get quiet and we get calm and we get internal, and then we rise up into the day of action and hopefully more clear environmental action. So this commandment is a key part of Judaism. There's also a covenant in Judaism. Many of us know that Jews have a lot of law. And there's not one kind of Judaism, by the way. There's Orthodox, there's Conservative, there's Reform, there's Renewal. There's a whole lot. The biggest swath about Jews in our country are Reform, which is what Temple Israel is. And that means we take a lot of the rules, we make them work for our modern day, and we kind of almost pick and choose what's practical, what's going to work for us as more mainstream Jews. But still, in essence, this concept of law is really important. So as Jews, we have to do our part to follow the commandments and do the work that we are set out to do to keep our covenant with God. The covenant is not purely given. It's given, but we have to show up and we have to do our part. So this covenant of first observing Shabbat, and then Jewish concept of action is vital. There's a phrase that many of us may have heard, but for those who haven't, the broadest phrase for Jewish action for righteousness, including environmental action, is tikkun olam. Have people heard this phrase, tikkun olam, before? You may know a famous or a popular magazine called Tikkun. Tikkun is a progressive national Jewish magazine about social issues, race, environmental change. So this tikkun means the action for the world. So we are commanded to observe Shabbat, to have this quiet and rest, this rabbi in our book is teaching about the rest as central to our ability to act effectively and not get burned out. And then to engage in tikkun olam, which is, I will spell this in the chat. This is a lovely phrase to get familiar with. Olam means the world. So if you'll hear lots of Jewish prayer, and this is just going to Peter, so I will, I think I may almost be at time here, so rather than putting this in, I'll just spell it verbally. It's transliterated from the Hebrew. T-I-K-K-U-N is tikkun, and olam is O-L-A-M. And again, olam means the world, so you'll hear that often in Hebrew. So tikkun olam is also a mitzvah. A mitzvah, some people may have heard. Have you heard the word mitzvah before? That's a little more in common parlance. A mitzvah is usually translated as a good deed, but it's actually a commandment. There are over 600 defined commandments in the Torah. I think there's 619 or 632, but there's more than 600 precise mitzvahs in the Torah. And one of the mitzvah is tikkun olam, which is the action of taking care of the earth. And to bring it back to our conversation topic from the moment, the effective action, this rabbi in this book argues that effective action has to be grounded in effective Sabbath, in effective Shabbat, and in calm and quiet and so let me pause on that and just open up if anyone else can share either from their own tradition or questions or comments on the Jewish one about that relationship between Sabbath, between rest and break and quietness, and how that interrelates with action. And if anyone wants to speak on that, this is your moment.
I loved his description of the I, it, and the I, thou, and that, I, it relationship is more doing, and I, thou is more the being part. So I could, with your personal description, that really helps too, that quiet time of just slowing down and kind of nurturing that I, thou relationship is so important for rest. Yeah, I just love that. We had an Orthodox Jewish family live next to us. I was newly married, and just observing some of the things they did, but they definitely took the Sabbath off. And we just don't do that much anymore, most of us. So, but everything, all the cooking's done the night before, I guess, and everything's ready the next day, and it's all about worshiping and being with family on the Sabbath. So it was beautiful to watch.
I think this is, I really look forward to.
Oh, go ahead, Peter.
I was going to get Claudia, go ahead. No, I really look forward to reading this. I was just going around finding where I can find the Kindle or where I could order the book. I think it's great to have perspectives on these critical issues from different religious traditions. Just one other thing I'd like to mention, one of the hard nuts to crack, as we see it, at least in the Christian community, is the evangelicals, right? They haven't been much into this. Well, a couple of things I ran across. One, sometime go to the website, Young Evangelicals for Climate Action. YECA. It's amazing. Okay. The other thing is this book here. Whoops. It's called Caring for Creation. It's the Evangelicals' Guide to Climate Change and a Healthy Environment. So they're allies out there.
Peter, I would just mention that there is an organization called the Evangelical Environmental Network.
Hey.
And they've been around a long time, and they've been very influential at the federal level prior to current administrations in affecting legislation and they are open. I'm a member, even though I don't consider myself an evangelical. They're very smart, and they're on top of climate change issues.
That's great. Well, you know, one thing that Susan will remember, we were earlier, you know, looking for outreach and getting other people in the TGFA. So we have now a whole Excel sheet of all the congregations in Tallahassee, like 965 of them, with their, you know, ministers and emails and all that sort of stuff. But I actually went to a couple of 3 evangelical churches and no go. I couldn't get a single rise out of them. So
I think we need to remember too, just like Christianity, there are different political spectrums, but you know, the evangelicals is who actually sent me to COP25. So they are actually incredibly involved with climate action and creation care. So, but it just, unfortunately, they are really bad rap in the news, especially now, and as Christianity is. So, you know, it's a hard time for everyone.
Would that were true in Tallahassee. Unfortunately, among evangelical churches here, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just wanted to add one more thing. First of all, Claudia, thank you so much for your beautiful sharing. It is such a, you're a spiritual guide for us, and truly just bring this back to why we're here. You know, it's about connections with a higher power. And I know that with this work in particular, I think it's so important to take that rest. And for me, I take it outside. That's where I get re-energized to continue this work, because, sorry, my dog is talking to me, because it's not easy work, right? And it also reminds us why we're doing this. So just thank you, so grateful. I added the name of the book in the chat. I also posted it on our Facebook group. There's a Kindle version and also a hard copy, and it's really a phenomenal book. Mentioned a Muslim speaker. I would love that. We have not been able to, just from our personal connections, know any Muslims that would like to join us, but I open it up to anyone who can help us with that. Our goal is to have every faith represented here. And so that's something, Peter, maybe we can talk about with the new year. Maybe we can have a new campaign like we did our letters last year to continue that outreach.
We have a connection with one of the mosques, and I'll see what can come from it.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Can I add one thing, Kira?
Yes.
The Washington National Cathedral is having prayers for our nation every evening at 5 o'clock, if you're interested. And it's interfaith. So they're having different ones, just 15 minutes. And I've been just lighting a candle and sitting on the porch and listening to it. It's been really helpful.
Are you getting that through a website or Facebook, or how are you connecting?
You just go to the Washington, I'll put it on here, but it's the Washington National Cathedral website.
Okay. Maybe you can add it to our Facebook group too. That seems to be a really good way to reach a lot of people.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, wonderful. Well, without further ado, we have a really packed meeting, you guys, but I love it. There's so many great things to go over, but I'm really happy that Pam McVety is with us. She has been a dear friend of mine for a long time and a mentor, and has just such a wealth of experience and love for this work, and really is very inspirational to me. She is a trained marine biologist. She is retired deputy secretary of the DEP. She is stewardship of creation enabler with the Florida Presbytery and elder at First Presbyterian Church. Hope I got all that all right, Pam. And I'm going to run her PowerPoint for her. And so bear with us with the technology, but hopefully we have it right where we need it to be. So I'm going to share screen and turn it over to Pam. And if you want to go up to how you're seeing people and switch to speaker view, you'll be able to see Pam in your corner of your screen. Okay, does everybody see Pam? You can see my screen.
There's a big black square in the center of mine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not it then. Let's try that again. Yes, please communicate with me because it's not always doing what it's supposed to do. Can you see that one?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. All right, there we go.
Well, Kara, thank you very much, and thank you for that introduction. I have to say it's wonderful. It's beyond wonderful. It warms my heart to see all of you, some old friends, some new friends. I'm just thrilled that this alliance has taken off and there's so many denominations involved. Claudia, you might appreciate the fact that when Kara first talked to me about doing this and I enthusiastically said yes several years ago, I promptly got a forced rest because I got sick for several weeks and I realized I needed to slow up in what I was doing. Kara, I'm just seeing black right now.
Yeah, sorry. Are you back?
I'm back. Can I have the
okay,
next slide?
That was my fault. Go ahead, sorry.
The next slide. I'm also sorry I can't see all your faces, so I know whether I'm losing you or boring you or getting you excited about this stuff. I'd like to give you an overview of where I'm going, and I am going to try to be brief today. We're going to start with an introductory video, and then I'm going to tell you what my ask is to you, and then I'm going to give you all the background information and explain what's going on. You'll note there's weird space on this slide. There was something went on when we translated this to Kara's computer. So there's some weird spacing going on. But if we could begin with a video that was produced by GreenFaith International.
Yep, keep talking and I'll go get the video.
Oh. the video explains briefly what is going on, what the Sacred People, Sacred Earth Ask is. It also sets a wonderful tone, and it shows you the extent to which the international community is already involved. Even before we have gotten on board, churches and denominations around the planet have helped put this together and are ready to move forward with it. So I'm ready.
We are united by a fundamental belief that all people,
all living things,
alles Leben,
todos os seres vivos
and
e
the
a
earth
terra
are sacred.
São sagrados.
As we consider the state of the world today, our hearts overflow with concern.
Tenemos temor y estamos frustrados por el daño que el COVID-19 está infligiendo en nuestras comunidades.
The pandemic has revealed
cruel injustices.
The vulnerable suffer the most severe impacts.
We know about this injustice.
We have seen it before.
We have seen it before.
These same communities are disproportionately and catastrophically affected
by the accelerating climate emergency.
Vemos las grandes amenazas que están a nuestra puerta.
We see the rise of increasingly unaccountable or authoritarian governments,
exploitative economies, and extremist cultural forces which pit us against each other,
target women and oppressed communities,
and foster doubt about the science required to save life on Earth.
This is a world of widespread poverty,
racial and gender injustice, massive income inequality, and the devastation of nature.
This version of civilization is unsustainable at every level.
A far better future is possible.
Un futuro mucho mejor
es posible si nuestra respuesta colectiva a la pandemia
y a la crisis climática está guiada por la compasión, el amor y la justicia.
At a scale that meets this moment.
We must not only provide the relief that so many need to survive, we must create a new culture, politics, and economy of life that heals people and planet.
Visualizamos un mundo transformado
in which humanity in all its diversity has developed a shared reverence for life on Earth.
Together we are building resilient, caring communities
and economies
that meet everyone's needs and protect the planet.
The era of conquest, extraction, and exploitation is giving way to cooperation and community.
The good life is one of connectedness with each other and all of nature.
It is a world of flourishing life that replaces despair with joy,
scarcity with shared abundance,
privilege with justly distributed power.
The work to create this future.
Este trabajo comienza ahora.
Begins now.
En los próximos meses, los gobiernos y las instituciones financieras gastarán sumas masivas en respuesta a la pandemia.
Governments will present climate commitments at COP26 in November 2021.
These actions must not perpetuate an outdated economic system
that relies on fossil fuels and the destruction of the very forests, waters, oceans, and soils that make life possible.
Instead, they should accelerate renewable energy development.
Ensure universal access to clean water and air, affordable clean energy,
and food grown with respect for the land.
Create jobs, paying family-sustaining wages to workers in safe conditions.
Deben garantizar la protección de los derechos de las comunidades indígenas y los y las defensoras del medio ambiente, de cuya seguridad dependen los ecosistemas saludables.
Wealthy countries must take responsibility for a larger share of emissions reductions to support a global just transition.
We must also prepare ourselves to welcome those who will be displaced by COVID and climate change.
Compassion, love, and justice require no less from us.
La compasión, el amor y la justicia no exigen menos de todas y todos nosotros.
Is there anywhere that video can be accessed and downloaded or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pardon?
Absolutely. We can get the video to you. All the materials today will be available to you. In fact, my last slide shows you a series of resources. So you can take a picture of it, or we can get out a broad email to everybody.
Great. So that's great.
That video is extremely moving, I think, and passionate, and very briefly explains what this Sacred People, Sacred Earth campaign is about. It's about people of faith saying, we've had enough. This is not what is going on this planet relative to climate change, and all the injustices are not right. It's not what we believe. It's not how we want to act. And as people of faith, if we join together, we can stand up and make a difference. So if I go back to the slides, I want to tell you what I'm going to ask you to do today. And then I'm going to go through what this campaign is in a bit more detail. So if we go to the next slide that talks about the ask. I'm asking you three things today. I'm asking, first of all, this alliance to affirm the 10 demand position statement from GreenFaith, and I'm asking this alliance to sign on as a co-sponsor for a March 11th Global Day of Action. Second, I'm asking each of your houses of faith to do the same thing, to affirm the statement and to sign on to co-sponsor, co-host this March 11th Day of Action. And third, I'm asking, could we form a little task force, a time-limited task force, to brainstorm for perhaps 30 minutes or an hour on what kind of common response we could put together in Tallahassee, a common message, an action that it takes place at each church and all churches simultaneously, so the community will become aware of what we're doing. So those are my three asks. Next slide.
You're good.
Yeah. I think you're familiar with GreenFaith as an organization. I know that Nettie, who was in that video, has spoken to you, and I believe Abby has spoken to you too. They are two Presbyterians that are leaders in the Caring for Creation movement that I'm familiar with. But I wanted to, because this is a big ask, I wanted to reassure you that GreenFaith is a good organization. Fletcher Harper, the director, is an Episcopalian priest who I know from working with for the last 7 years on fossil fuel divestment. His staff, he has a board of directors. And this new GreenFaith International is a global coalition that is an expansion of the domestic GreenFaith organization. So all this is to say they're a very good organization. Next slide.
Pam, I can tell you that we know that because we're an official GreenFaith circle.
Yes, I'm aware of that, right? And I just wanted to quickly show you who their partners are. They're in Australia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, India, Indonesia, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda, UK, US, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. I think that Claudia did an excellent job this morning of introducing this issue in the sense that these are pretty dark times right now. And I know that Presbyterians and probably most of you are saying, what can I do? How can I make a difference? And I see this as one answer. I see this as an opportunity for us to use our power and strength as faith-based organizations to begin a faith-based movement, a global faith-based movement to respond to all the injustices of climate change. Next. So what is this campaign? Well, clearly it's multi-faith, it's global, and it's grassroots, and it is a response to the climate crisis and all its injustices. It's a response to the failure of our government and other governments and financial institutions to address this crisis. It also, all of us deplore injustices, and we're tired of waiting for government to act. We know what's happening with climate change, and we know the time is growing shorter, and the consequences are upon us already. So next slide. As you saw in that video, this is going to be guided by compassion, love, and justice, and a strong belief in truth-telling, and that collectively we can deliver a really powerful message and demand change. Next. So here are the 10 demands. I'm going to give you a link to the website so you can see an expanded explanation of these 10 demands, but this is a summary version of it. 1, 100% renewable energy for all. 2, our finances aligned with our compassionate values. Jobs and healthcare for all. Respect for Indigenous rights. Welcome to climate migrants. Net zero emissions by 2030. That, of course, is a huge ask. End to the planet's desecration. Elimination of immoral finance. Just contributions from wealthy countries. And bold faith community leadership. Next. I want you to know that the session at our church considered these demands and the campaign and affirmed them this past Sunday, January 10th. And so what I'm asking is for your session or your ruling body to also affirm those demands. And once you do it, you go to GreenFaith site and you register. And the registration will take you all of 5 seconds to do. It's ridiculously short. If you wanted to keep track of some of these links, I'd suggest you take a photo of this. you also are going to see it again at the end in case you didn't, and it's easy to find just by going to greenfaith.org. Next slide. At the site, as I mentioned, there's a lot more detail under each of these demands, but I thought I should share one of them with you because they are asking religious and spiritual institutions to take very specific steps. It doesn't mean you have to take these, and it doesn't mean you have to do all of them, but this is to guide you as to their thinking as to the steps that are most critical for addressing the climate crisis. So here's one: pledge to power your facility with 100% renewable energy. At First Presbyterian, we put solar panels on our rooftop 11 years ago, and we provide 25% of our power, our electrical power, from solar. Practice plant-based diets. Divest your fossil fuel holdings. Our particular church has divested 100% of its fossil fuel holdings. Our Presbyterian denomination has so far refused, after 7 years of asking, to do this, but I've noticed that they are quietly getting rid of their fossil fuel stocks. So even if they don't want to admit it, they're doing it. Invest your money in renewable energy and encourage others to take these kinds of steps. So that's just an example of, under one of the demands, the kinds of things that you could be doing. Next. A good follow-up to this, of course, is to write about this in your newsletters, have Sunday school classes on it, preach on it, and perhaps form a committee to review these kinds of actions and decide what would work best for you. Next. This is the last ask, and that is that this organization, again, form some kind of small committee or task force to decide what we can all do together to send a message to our community, to our Florida legislature, which will be in town when we're doing this. And what I'd like us to do is agree on a common message, and then reach out to all the houses in worship in our community. And I was thrilled to hear that you had a spreadsheet and you'd already identified who they are. And then we need to reach out to our local newspaper and radio stations about this upcoming day on March 11th, post events on Facebook and Instagram, and perhaps even hold a press conference on that day. We are really lucky to have Kara with us because she knows exactly how to do all this stuff, and she's an excellent communicator. It would be great if somebody wanted to step forth and coordinate this, or work with me to coordinate with this. And I'm hoping I can twist Kara's arm to be our PR person on this, since she's so uniquely suited to do this. Coming up next week on January 20th is an organizational meeting, and I will get you all the information. Everybody is welcome to it. It will be a global organizational meeting, which is fun because there's 3 different meetings, because we're in all the global time frame times on the planet. So you have to pick one that's during the daylight and you're awake. Okay, so the last thing I would ask of you is, if we agree to do this, is to register. So here's the information. Take a picture of it, or Kara and I can get it out in an email to you. They will hold another organizational meeting on January 20th. They've already been several previous calls, but as we speak, they're getting organized and they're getting better at it every single day. You can imagine how complicated it is to work with people all over the planet, you know, almost 20 different countries, all these different languages, and get everybody's input and put this together. And they've done a tremendous job so far. So Also on this page, it shows you where the Sacred Earth, Sacred People, Sacred Earth position statement is located on the GreenFaith website. And I think that's pretty much it. I hope I didn't go too fast for you. This is big and it's complicated. And you can go to GreenFaith's website and kind of work your way through their resources to get a better feel for this. But I'm hoping this is something that you'll want to do in your houses of worship. And I'm hoping there's a subset of you that we can work together and put something together for our community to do on March 11th. I'm thinking one of the most effective things to do would be to all ring our bells or whatever musical instruments you have at 12 o'clock noon and have a big sign in front of your organization, your house of worship, and perhaps we can hold a press conference on that day and hand out some literature to whoever comes by our institutions and let them know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And of course, again, we're doing it because the climate crisis is not being addressed the way it needs to be addressed. And we all need to do more. So, questions?
Well, I would just say thank you, Pam, for learning all of that and sharing it with us. I think that this group has been looking for a campaign to really get behind, and the fact that we're a GreenFaith circle, this is a GreenFaith campaign, I think it makes all the sense for us to embrace it. And I think it will, every time we have something like this, it helps our group grow and helps get the message out about the moral and spiritual calling to be, taking care of the earth. So I guess I would ask, who is interested in just joining kind of this brainstorming meeting to help us formulate some ideas on how this body would go forward with this? If someone's raring to go right now, just raise your hand or put your name in the chat. And if you want to think about it, that's fine too. It won't obligate you for anything, but it really will be important that we get participation other than just, kind of the same people that are doing the iGrow garden. And, it'd be nice to have a different kind of advocacy committee, something like that, that would give this some thought. So.
I think it's would really be effective if, especially the downtown churches like Trinity and St. John's and maybe the Baptist Church and whoever else is downtown, can all do something at the same time on March 11th. And what Kara and I can do is send you a follow-up email with my email address on it. And you can just let me know if you're interested. And when we do come up with a common plan, and again, we're not going to make it big and complicated. At my age, I no longer do big and complicated. We will send it out to everybody, and I would just like to hear that whether you're on board or not. So when we put together a press release and try to get some PR, we can have a list of the churches in our community who are supportive of this. And I want to make sure that you know that this is open to everybody and that all ideas and suggestions are welcome, and we'll try to do as many of them as we can.
Definitely. And also every church has freedom to do their own ideas at their own church too.
Absolutely.
The idea is that you do something within your church, and also there's a overarching support by this body to help get the word out. And we also have to keep in mind, we may not be back in person in March. I don't know, but online is working really well too, especially with PR. So we will definitely get the word out, and I'm happy to help with the PR, of course.
Thank you, Kara.
Of course.
I have to tell you that Debbie and Gail, who are on this call, are already part of the committee at First Presbyterian Church. And like Kara said, we'll be scheming and figuring out. not only what we want to do on March 11th, but what we're going to do to follow up on those 10 demands with our congregation.
So Pam, can you tell us how you got your church to sign on? Because I think that could be challenging even for my own church, house of worship. Did you talk to the entire congregation, or like how did that work?
Well, I have to tell you that doing things like this are not difficult at my church. I'm spoiled. The whole church is a Caring for Creation team. It's almost a non-brainer for them. So I put together an email to my church session with a copy of GreenFaith's position statement and their 10 demands. And the session affirmed it. I wasn't at the session. I understand there was a little discussion, but not a whole lot of discussion. So I'm very sympathetic to you if it's a lot harder sell at your house of worship. As you heard, I am the Stewardship of Creation enabler for the Florida Presbytery. And after 20 years of working with 40-some churches, I don't think I've sold them anything. So I understand how hard it is to get people on board that may have different views in our resistance.
So I think maybe for each one is going to be different. Like I think I'll start with my pastor, and she'll probably say, well, your creation care group can sign on, and that's no problem. Others that don't have creation care groups, their pastor might say, well, you really need to get this decision body to sign on. But in the big scheme of things, this is an aspirational pledge. It doesn't obligate you to have to go 100% solar or whatever. It's just helping to increase awareness that people of faith care about this, and there is a huge movement. And if your house of worship just doesn't want to do it, or is giving you a hard time, you can still be involved in this overarching Tallahassee GreenFaith Alliance movement as well. So there'll be 2 levels that we'll have organizing. So
I should mention, Kara, that we do have a brand new minister who is very young and has not worked on the Caring for Creation mission before. And so I did invite her to my home, and in freezing cold weather, we sat on opposite ends of my screen porch. And I went over what that mission is, and then I explained this campaign to her, and she is solidly on board and with us.
Excellent. I've actually spoken with her and invited her to this meeting, and she said, oh yeah, she was only there for like a week. She said, oh yes, I see that this is very important to our church. So you guys did good. Excellent. Well, thank you, Pam. This was wonderful. And what I love about this is Pam just figured this out on her own. She researched it, she acted on it, and she put this presentation together and she brought it to us. And that's open for all of you. I just hope you know that we want to learn from each other. We want to support each other. The fact this is a Green Faith campaign just fits perfectly because we're already a Green Faith circle. Some of you know Nettie, Reverend Nettie. She spoke with us and she was on the video as well. So anyway, it was just, these are our people. And so this is going to be something I think that we will definitely get behind. So thank you again, Pam. So I will send out a follow-up email.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we are doing good on time. I'm proud of us. Let me go back to share screen so we can do the last slide.
Sarah, I see Debbie wanted to speak, and there might have been some other hands up. I don't know if you want to take those now or later.
Oh, thank you. I did not see that. So my apologies. Yes, please ask your questions.
It's just glaringly obvious to me that we're a bunch of white people. Have we, with the Green Faith Alliance, had any kind of outreach to the Black churches here in town?
We do, and we actually have one African-American member, Gwen Dixon with New Life United Methodist Church, which is an African-American church. She's not with us today, but she's really active. We sent a letter to every church or house of worship in Tallahassee last year, and we continue to outreach, and our work with iGrow has actually really helped us connect. Elder Ivy runs a ministry called Sowing Seeds, Sowing Comfort. And she is also a pastor in the Frenchtown area. So I am right there with you about, you know, that issue. And that's something that we continue to try to, you know, evolve. But really our work on the ground in the garden in Frenchtown has helped us make a lot of really important connections. Maisha Mitchell, who is the Tallahassee Food Network director, she's a member and attends sometimes, as well as Dr. Kasima Boston. So I hear you loud and clear, Debbie, and please, you know, we would love to continue that outreach. I have invited some of my friends who, you know, go to some other African-American churches, and they're just kind of, we're making that connection between environmental justice and air quality and, you know, how, and food insecurity, and how all of these issues come together. That's been a big focus of ours and will continue. And I think Claudia is about to learn a lot more about that and how we can even integrate more. But please invite anyone and everyone that you know. It's open to any, you know, anyone really, but also any house of worship, people of faith.
Sure, sure, okay. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions? Nope, okay. Again, my apologies, I don't always see raised hands. All right, let's see if I can jump back to where we were. Okay. There we go. So just two reminders, we have Martin Luther King's Day of Service coming up on Monday. And one opportunity is to join our friends with the Leon Fruit and Nut Exchange. They have a big gleaning at a Satsuma farm coming up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to meet at their offices, which is at a church on Tharp Street, and kind of caravan over to Cottondale, Florida, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from here. And there's going to be a lot of Satsumas to glean. So apparently it's fun. I haven't done it yet on this scale, but she says, Tabitha Fraser says to bring a lunch and garden clippers and wear your mask. And it should be a really fun time. And what she does is this is Tabitha's nonprofit. It's her passion. She gleans almost every day, and then she fills her SUV up with produce and takes it to food pantries all over the city, including really small neighborhood food pantries, community groups, schools. I mean, she really is so dedicated to trying to get this food to people who need it, and to be able to help, you know, climate crisis by not having it rot on the ground. So it's really a really great organization and opportunity. So that's on Monday, and please invite your green teams if you'd like. I invited mine. I think it's a nice opportunity for them to act without us having to do much work. We just get to pass on this great opportunity that's already planned. The other thing is our Divine Dirt team. We continue to work in the iGrow garden in Frenchtown at 611 Dent Street. There's a lot of greens growing right now, and there's a wonderful core of volunteers who faithfully comes out every Monday. I will admit that I'm a chicken with the cold. I was out there in July, but those Monday mornings, I haven't made it out there much this winter, but they're doing a great job, and everyone is welcome. So if you're interested, Susan Robinson is the one who sends out the text just to confirm that it's still happening. So if you're interested, just get in touch with me or Susan, and we can make sure that you're on that list. Okay, so our next meeting is February 11th. And it's always the same Zoom link, but I continue to send out the Zoom link just so you have it right in front of you so it doesn't get buried, but it is the same one. And now I would just invite anyone who felt led or would be willing to close us in prayer. Anyone? Okay, well, if that's the case, then David's coming back. David, would you mind closing us in prayer? You're muted.
Let us pray.
Holy God, we thank you for the beautiful creation you've entrusted to us. Forgive us for the way we've messed it up and enlighten our hearts and minds and our will to do better. And we pray, Lord, for this effort on March the 11th to gain more attention and more people to come to help for justice for the people being hurt by our misuse of the creation. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. It was wonderful seeing you. Have a good week and month and hang in there and try to have some time outside. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Don't forget to check our Facebook group.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Great to see
you.
you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Pam.
Take care.